Mirror man, you twist and turn my mind until I don't know who I am. Mirror man.
Good morning and welcome to another edition, a very special edition of the Arsenal Opinion podcast. For many of the regular AOP listeners, you'll know that I watched the majority of the games at a bar called Fancy Free in Fort Greene with a group of supporters that go by the name of the Brooklyn Invincibles. It's more than a venue, it's a community of some of the most passionate Arsenal fans I've ever met. And today we are joined by some of the founding fathers of the Brooklyn Invincible movement. Howard, JB, and Jason, welcome and thank you for joining us on the podcast. How you doing, guys?
Good.
Thanks for having us, Joe.
Special shout out to Muzito, who's in South Africa, holding it down. Another one of the founding fathers and the few that we have. So yeah,
exactly. We need to see that guy's face again. But before anything, let's get straight down to it. Football or soccer?
Footy all day.
Footy. It's got to be, right? It's got to be.
Jason,
Football.
You're looking.
I wanted to go left with it and say soccer, but I think for the purposes of this, football.
When I'm talking MLS, though, I will say soccer.
Okay, that's a nice little. I've found myself saying soccer occasionally, and I get berated by many of the regular listeners on here. So it is footy, it is football. I'm glad you said that. Glad we don't have to end the podcast there today. There has been no Arsenal news for absolutely weeks. Some vague transfer rumors that have basically gone down the drain. And then today, we finally had big news because we had the fixtures come out. So I'm really, really excited to get into that. We're going to be talking about being an overseas fan. We're talking about building community. We're talking about Arsenal in Brooklyn. We're going to be talking about upcoming plans. We're going to be talking about hopes and dreams for the year ahead. But before we do any of that, let's just do a very, very quick round of intros because I want to understand. You could have picked any team, but you picked Arsenal or Arsenal picked you. And I'd love to just understand a little bit about that journey because, I think it could be super, super interesting. Jason, you want to go first?
All right. So I had the pleasure of living in the UK at the time. I was going to be a Liverpool fan, funnily enough. Stan Collymore, John Barnes. And then I was living in Bristol, but then I pretty much moved to Croydon, north. Well, Croydon means it's Thornton Heath, right? South London, pretty much. And then after that, my stepfather gave me a Ian Wright jersey. Like it was one of those things in which was regional. You were supporting a team based on where you lived. And of course, the closest club was Crystal Palace. But as far as that first division, Arsenal was the team to be. Ian Wright Blue Lightning jersey just changed my life. Ever since then, it was those 1-0 to the Arsenal days. I was converted since then.
Imagine how many Arsenal fans exist because of Ian Wright.
Yeah.
Imagine if he was on commission for Arsenal fans.
Right.
Him and Kevin Campbell.
$1 per fan,
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace.
Yeah. JB, what about you?
I also inherited it too. My father is an Arsenal fan. I vividly remember just him rushing home to catch Champions League highlights. And then when Thierry Henry came to Red Bulls and I kind of came of age, I grew up mostly watching basketball. But I was just he was an electrifying player. And my birthday is the 14th of November. So I was this player, figure talisman for the team, wears my number. I was bought in. And then it just became an obsession. And I also fell out of love around that time with American sports. I feel like the NBA was just going in a different direction. Super teams started happening. The NFL was just a shit show. And just the culture around the club was really cool. Whenever I met another Arsenal fan, it was just an instant connection. So, yeah.
I love that. Howard,
Nice.
What about you?
So, I mean, I grew up playing footy here in the States, right? And growing up here, you didn't really get to see a lot of it. You have to chase to look at it. I remember we'd be able to watch like some kind of game of the week after like on this murky channel after you're watching a bit of like the kung fu movies, and then they might slide in like 30 minutes of a game of the week. Like you don't even get to watch the whole thing. It was janky. But just growing up watching footy, as a black dude playing here, it's very rare here because it's like it's an elitist sport only in the States, I think, where like a lot of the rich kids play, right? So I didn't see a lot of me when I'm playing. I funny enough played for the Cannons when I was super young. I didn't know who the Cannons were, you know. But as I started to get age and mature, then I started to try to find like black players that are playing around the world, right? So I fell in love with the Dutch team, obviously, because Ruud Gullit was my guy. And then I started looking around, and I found like the community of Arsenal a long time ago, and Ian Wright was the one who I was like, who's got this go-to swag, like playing a game, you know what I mean? That's just like amazing. And Rocky, like, so it was just like seeing that team and then seeing like the fans behind and everything kind of just like pulled me in. I found home right there immediately. Yeah.
I feel like it's such a source of pride that Arsenal is such a diverse club, you know, and I think it makes such a difference that, you know, there were moments in like the 70s and the 80s with the rise of the National Front and all of this stuff infiltrating football clubs. And I think one of the things, Arsenal's always had class, and one of the things that has always been enormously proud of Arsenal for is that was never part of it. And not to say there are no racist people at Arsenal, is everywhere, but to say as a club, I feel like we've always upheld certain principles and values that I think is just something to be really, really, really proud of. So today was a big day. The fixtures came out. But you guys know that we have a tradition on this show. You don't have to talk fixtures. You could be Arsenal, could be Euros, could be Copa America, could be anything. But today, what I want to hear is your hottest of takes.
Hottest of takes.
Hottest of takes.
Three hottest of takes.
The AOP hottest of takes. Make it spicy.
Okay, who's going to go up first? And this needs to be spicy, right? We're talking Saka sauce levels of spice. No lemon and herb today. Like the full hot, spicy stuff.
I just feel as though we owe Arsene Wenger an apology. I think the way we castrated that man the last few years of his tenure, we really owe him a big, big apology from the fan base. The infrastructure he laid down has set us up to be in a really great position going forward. And you're seeing the likes of Real Madrid do the same thing, right? It's just that, guess what? They had we were the first people to do it. So there's like a first mover disadvantage. But I think we all owe Arsene Wenger an apology, and he should be much more well regarded than he is right now.
Oh my God, we went back to Arsene Wenger. What about that offside rule stuff? What about that offside rule? You like that?
It hurts, man. It hurts me, man. Like, that was great. That was dad. That was a de facto father figure for a lot of us. So it hurts with the way we remember him, and the fact that, you know what, the fourth place trophy did become a fruition, right? Everyone in the world is copying what we essentially started. And I think we do owe him a big mea culpa.
I was an Arsene Wenger apologist for a long time, mainly until I met Pete and Pedro from the podcast, who was on the Arsene out bandwagon pretty early, and I think that their tenure is neatly divided in two, really. You know, first half absolutely incredible. Second half, you know, we let it go on too late and we decayed.
You still use that language, man? Come on. Infrastructure is important.
Infrastructure is important.
And then, you know what? You say this, and I'll challenge you on one simple thing. Chelsea had the benefit of a rich owner who was not given any rules to abide by, right? How can we compare what he did to what was able to be done, right? Like, look at the Premier League now, trying to redirect.
There is no doubt that he is visionary, and we have a lot to be grateful for. And I desperately don't want people to hate on him, but my God, we were we needed a change.
I think
Howard.
what you
Based about the infrastructure, like if you look at just the dumpster fire that Chelsea has been, even with money still coming in, like there's just no plan, no semblance of a plan. Whereas like our club, top to bottom, in the ways we've grown, it's like it looks like it's going step by step as something that's been thought out. Or if you look at Spuds, like right, brand new stadium, you think that they have a plan, but to like get Beyonce and Red Hot Chili Peppers in that stadium, not to get the club to progress where it should be thinking they belong. Where these are clubs near us that have had the resources, whereas our club had the resources a couple years ago. And then we had to pay back those resources, that money, but it's just still been a structure. It's still been a standard, and it's in the right trajectory now. And I think that's because of, like Jason said, the foundations that were left by someone.
Arsene Wenger cannot believe it. He is getting praise in 2024 from the AOB. He is getting his flowers. JB, what's your hottest to take? So you going Arsene Wenger, or are you going somewhere more?
I am going the apology route. I think we owe VAR an apology.
Oh,
yeah.
These are spicy.
Whoa.
Think about it, like where the technology just camera wise. If we were still watching some of these games and we didn't have VAR and we got like all these nose hair close-ups of some blatant plays and we didn't have VAR, we would be crying for it. Like yes, it still has a lot of work to be done, but the fact that like it's actually happened, like there was a time where we never thought it would happen, right? Where it's just like, no, it's not going to happen. We don't think it's going to happen. And then it happened. And there's been a lot of times when it's in our favor or in any team that you support's favor, you're like, man, thank goodness that blatantly would have been given the other way had it not been for video assisted review.
I agree. I think that my issue is not with VAR, the technology. It's with VAR, the implementation.
Right. That's why I mean, we owe the technology an apology.
We do. Yeah, I agree. We owe the technology because some of the idiots that we've got running it. Oh my God. Some of those decisions. I remember watching that Newcastle away game. It still haunts me where they did the close up. You saw the slice of green between the ball and the line. You saw the push. I was relaxed. I was just carrying on drinking. I was like, okay, just like hold on tight. I'm watching it. My wife's watching the game with me. She goes, well, that's, clearly that's going to be disallowed. And I'm like, obviously. And then it didn't happen. And you're just like, how does that happen? So, yeah, we owe the technology an apology. We definitely don't owe the officials. I do think they use it so much better in Europe where it's just like faster decisions. It's not so intrusive. It's quicker. It doesn't feel like it overtakes the whole game. Howard, are you going spicy on VAR, or you've got something more to say on VAR?
No, but like I just wanted to say, like I think VAR is taking a lot of things about like some of the spirit of the game away though, and I kind of miss that. I kind of miss like arguing over like the minuscule, like was he on or off, or was it like I'm fine if like an elbow keeps somebody on sides when it should have been off if that's a goal, right? Like I think VAR is taking some of those small little bits. Like I don't know, recently, like who just played
the handball against Belgium.
Oh well, I was at that also, but then I'm going to who just played just a second ago.
Turkey and Georgia.
It was Turkey, right? And Turkey got offside by just like half a foot. You know what I mean? Like those little things, I think, like I get it. I understand it's offside with the spirit of the game. And also it's made referees idiots. You know what I mean? Like seriously, like flagsmen, they don't even like
they don't even
these days, right? They just let it play on for another like 15 minutes and then are like, oh yeah, by the way.
Well, two things interesting on that one. First one is I agree with you, and then I think about Gabriel and Garnacho. And that moment where he contorted his body to make Garnacho offside. And if there's no VAR or we're giving people advantage, that's a goal, and we don't get that glorious ending.
Yeah,
that's true.
And then I'm also thinking about that Champions League game between Bayern Munich and Real Madrid, where the ref blew up, and then everyone's saying, "Why make the decision?" And it's like you can't have it both ways. We're going, make the decision. Why make the decision? And you really realize the tough spot that that the lines people are into when you're basically not raising the flag for tight decisions.
Yeah. It's
That one
just
was tough.
it just turns it such into like a digital game. Maybe I'm just mad at AI right now. I don't know.
Oh yeah. It's eating all of our breakfasts,
Right?
lunches,
Maybe.
and dinners. Anyway, hottest of takes, Howard.
Well, mine's simple, and it just has to do with the structures that we've all seen. And I was saying earlier, like if we can get out of if we can get to November with only dropping like points once, I think we'll be in a prime position to go on to at least challenge for the title, hands down. Right? We have Man City in that as well. So if we can get points on top of them and then we drop somewhere else, I'm fine with that. But if we can get out of November, oh my God. If we can get to November without any scathings, even October, like we'll be in a decent place.
I hear you, and that's where I'm going with my hottest of takes. It's fixture day. It's one of the most exciting days of the summer. It's the day when we find out and start laying the groundwork with our loved ones as to exactly when we're going to be out the house and unavailable, but not really, because then it all gets moved for TV.
Yes.
Little tip for listeners: if you have a partner, get your partner to go on Arsenal.com and download the games direct to their calendar, because it means that they're always going to be up to speed with when you're not going to be around. It's an important one because last season I was putting the games in our family's calendar, but then TV would change them, and it caused major issues. So Arsenal.com, download all the fixtures. Anyway, my hot take is I think the fixtures are pretty great for us. And this is my rationale. In nearly every year I've supported Arsenal, I've looked at it and I've gone, I want an easy start. Because basically the seasons that we were good were the ones where we just got some momentum and kept it going. Mm-hmm. And pretty much every season that we did that, we fell away in February or March. Oh yeah, if we managed to make it to there. Now, because we're actually good, I'm looking at it and I'm going, I want all the hard games early. So you give yourself opportunities to make up points lost. And I'm looking at it and I'm thinking about what are the toughest away games? Man City away, Liverpool away, Villa away, Spurs away, Chelsea away. Now, obviously, you're not going to get all of them in the first half of the season, but you are going to get some of them. And so that's really our first topic of the day. We're going to be doing a little fixture reaction. And just so, if you're watching this on YouTube as well, we are now putting up the fixtures. You can see it there. Here are the fixtures for 24-25. We open with another home game. I think we've been at home 99 times out of the last 100. We've got Wolves at home. We end at Southampton away. But the big news really is Villa away, Spurs away, City away. First 3 away games of the season. Remember, players coming back late from various international tournaments. JB, what's your instant reaction when you're looking at that? What are you excited about? What are you worried about?
As a gooner on the road, I was like, where am I going to be for these games? So I'm with you. Like I woke up this morning and I was looking at my tour schedule. Like, where am I going to be? What supporters groups am I going to get to check out some of these games with? But as far as like starting the season, you made an excellent point on that emphasis is always on like starting hot, getting a rhythm, but then towards the tail end of the season, the business end, that's really we should be focused on. I think getting some of those out of the system is actually not a bad thing now that you mention it, especially with such a congested international break with Copa America and the Euros happening. A lot of teams might have, and I'm not wishing it on any team, injuries that are coming back from players that went deep in the tournament. So teams are going to be working things out, especially us going away. I think could play into our favor. It's just like, hey, business end of the season, we might have to have a depleted squad or we might have to have a rotated squad. And then this is how we would play, get that style in early and then see where it goes from there. So
100%.
I'm kind of excited for it, to be honest.
Jason? What's the first fixture you look for?
Honestly, I'm thinking about the revenge tour at Aston Villa. Right? You made mention of this a couple of days ago regarding I'm no longer afraid of anyone else. I'm only concerned about us. We are the only thing that's a constant. All these other teams are variables. By that I mean Aston Villa has to get used to the Champions League. They have to get used to these new players. They lost Douglas Luiz.
Happened to Newcastle.
We owe them one. We did it to West Ham, right? We owe them one. If we go 5 goals against Aston Villa, I'm very excited for the Aston Villa fixture. Tottenham don't know who they are. That's us, regardless. And that Man City thing, I think didn't Rodri make the comment that we didn't come to win when we faced them? Ooh. I'm looking forward to each of these fixtures.
Yeah.
I'm no longer afraid of what will happen to us. I'm more so concerned that we can stay healthy. If we can stay healthy in all of these fixtures, right? Because I think last season we saw a bit of a burnout situation. All of our players were available, but they weren't necessarily not even in form. I just think we were just flagging. We were playing week in, week out. I'm looking forward to the start of the season and the fact that our players should be relatively coming back healthy from the Euros or Copa America, right? Let's see how it goes, but I'm not afraid of anybody. Not anymore.
Howard, we got Liverpool away, third game from the end. Imagine going for a title, needing to win at Anfield, 3 games to go. That's my scary one. Where's your head going to on that? What are the standouts for you?
Standouts. Let me just check this real quick. I don't know. I love the fact that we get into Man City pretty early. I love that, right? Like let's get in their face early and put our stamp upon them, because I think they're a team that likes to like ramp up into things, whereas we're a team that like needs to be able to like get on the front foot in terms of the schedule ahead of them and like always apply that pressure. Now we know that they're used to being able to sit behind and then come back and win a title or whatever. But if we put our stamp early on them and just let them know like we're here for the whole season, and then I think that's a nice way to keep us like cruising throughout and bringing our confidence back up, right?
Is that a 6-pointer? Do you think that's a 6-pointer, that early Man City game?
I think so.
Yes.
Okay.
I think so.
Yes, I do.
Go on, JV.
What's a good point is what we were criticized for at the tail end of the season before last, and what we were lauded for, how we were reacting this season that just passed. Mm-hmm. Let's look at the spine of our team. They are going to be expected to go deep in the Euros and to go deep or perform at the highest level. So I think it's just going to be like players like Saliba or Rice or Saka are going to come into the season and go, oh, we have big games in the top. I just came off a tournament where every game was a big game. I just came off a season where I was expected, where we were in the Champions League, where we didn't get a chance to break. And I think this is something, credit to the gaffer. Mikel has been talking about this for time. You need to be playing every 3 days. This is the holy standard. You play every 3 days mentally, right? Regardless. Right. Like in any other sport, when they're in the off season, they're like, I'm practicing either way. I'm still practicing. Like I am just operating at this level. And I think this is a chance for our young core spine to come in and go, this is what is expected of us, whether it's in the beginning of the season or whether it's in the winter congested fixture period, or whether it's after the lull of the transfer window. We're always going to have the pressure and we have to accept it. And I think looking at that, it's kind of like that. It's like that shock laugh, not shock laugh, but like that. Okay. Yeah. We're playing away games, tough fixtures. We're Arsenal. Every fixture is a tough fixture. I play for one of the biggest clubs in the world. That's what it is. I play on my national team. I'm expected to perform. That's just what it is at this standard. And I think that's the hump that they're going to have to hit the ground running with. And I love it.
True.
I agree. I'm looking at that run-in because I think the run-in is, we had a tricky run-in last year. And we navigated it with the exception of Aston Villa. And ultimately that was our downfall. But I'm looking at it, I'm going, for the last
April, May.
You got Fulham, Everton, Brentford, Ipswich, Palace. I mean, that is as easy as it gets in April. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's as easy as it gets in a running. and then you've got Bournemouth, Newcastle at home, where I think at home against Newcastle it should be fine. Southampton away. It's just that Liverpool game.
But
So
you're judging Liverpool on Klopp. This is not the same team. We don't know what they're going to look like.
Know what they're going to look like.
That July game that we're going to go to, if you're going to make it, Matt. So I think Liverpool, Liverpool versus Arsenal in Philadelphia, that might give us a bit of a litmus test. But in truth, we're giving Liverpool credit for being Liverpool. We don't know what version or iteration this is going to be. So I'm not afraid of them at all. They have to still figure out what that team looks like under a new manager, under just basically whoever is going to take over. They don't know either. They haven't even had much time to gel because most of the players are playing in the Euros.
So Howard, who's your dark horses? Because last year Aston Villa came out of nowhere. Pedro thinks that it's the greatest achievement since Leicester won the Premier League. Aston Villa winning a Champions League spot. Who would be your dark horses? The team that no one's thinking about necessarily for challenging for a Champions League or higher, coming out the woodwork.
Ipswich Town. No, I'm joking. Actually, I mean, I wish them well. I do wish them well, but I think, unfortunately, it's going to be like Chelsea. I think there's two clubs there's two clubs I fear. One is that Manchester United bought back Ten Hag. And though I don't think he's the right manager, the problem is they were consistent. And I always just fear consistency with players being able to be together and work together for another year. The same thing with Chelsea. Even though they did the opposite and got rid of somebody who I think was putting them on a certain path that was right punch, I worry again that those players have actually been playing together now for a full season, a season plus. So they're at least familiar with
good points. Right now. You had a good points return from the calendar year.
Exactly. And on the back end, they were
consistent.
Yeah, exactly. So, those are the two teams I fear getting better.
JB,
they're not dark horses. I know that. I understand.
No, I think they're dark. They count as dark horses.
But
they
going off of last season. Yeah.
JB, what's your two or one? Two.
I think as a dark horse, you can't say Villa now because again, like you said, they locked in a Champions League spot. There's still a lot of summer left. There's still a lot of trades that could happen. There's still a lot of players coming and going. If I had to, I might go with Howard. I say Chelsea might be a dark horse that we put in the back of our head. We steamrolled them. They were getting steamrolled, but they can get consistent, grind out draws or wins when they were getting draws or losses, and then catch us at a time because they didn't have Europe either, if I'm not mistaken.
I think they got conference.
They got conference.
Yeah, they do.
Fair.
So you were right. They don't have Europe.
I honestly, dark horse, Crystal Palace.
Oh, now you're talking.
I am very excited about what that manager was able to do with Mateta. Yeah. If they're able to keep Eze or Elise, depending on what happens at the end of the season with the transfers,
they can have
Adam Wharton. The fact that they got that kid out of Birmingham, right, mid-season, and he's not in the England squad, that tells you a lot about the coaching and even about the recruitment. They still have Gahey. Gahey looked amazing playing in the starting lineup the other day, right? Considering that should have been Tomori's spot, the fact that Gahey could step in there, I'm actually looking forward to see what Crystal Palace could do. They've always been able to upset the bigger teams. So they've been able to upset the Man Cities before, the Liverpools. Mm-hmm. So I have no qualm with them being my dark horse legitimately. It's unfancy. They don't play in Europe. They'll be healthy for the most part. I'm going for Crystal Palace.
And don't they have the most players in the England squad?
They do. They
have a group of players that are spending time playing together and seeing the level of other players from competitive teams. So that's a very solid point.
Yeah, man. Palace is my guys.
Yeah.
I think Palace is mine, but I hadn't really thought about the Elise factor because I think he's going to go.
Yeah, that's what I think.
And I think it's just yeah, probably. Okay. Unfortunately, I don't want it.
But imagine who they're able to loan from him. So imagine this: Elise goes, let that play out. Chelsea has so many players who don't even have lockers. They're gonna have to loan someone out, right? So to me, that coach has done a really good job. I'm actually excited to see who he can. Wasn't he the Stuttgart manager that went to the
Glasner.
Yeah, the Stuttgart manager, the old Stuttgart manager, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and they went to the Europa League final, weren't they?
Brilliant. Apparently, Bayern Munich offered 20 million, and they were rebuffed. They really landed a good one there.
So imagine who he has that he could bring in on his Rolodex, right? After they sell Elise. So I'm excited for them.
Yeah, I'm with Palace. Chelsea, I was thinking they were going to have a positive year, but I'm thinking now, what are they doing? Like, they brought this guy in. They think they've got Pep/Arteta. I don't think he's proven. They've got to learn a whole new system, a whole new pattern of play. They lose the consistency. They're probably going to sell Conor Gallagher because they need to raise funds. And he's limited, but he's more effective than better players that they have. You know, like a lot of my Chelsea fan friends they're like, he's not good enough technically to be a top player, but he delivers output.
You saw him at Crystal Palace, right? That's how he made his name in the Premier League.
For me, he's Aaron Ramsey, which is
without the goal return.
A really good player, but maybe you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying.
I get it.
Yeah.
Anyway, we've done the fixtures. We've looked at some dark horses. Oh, there's one more I want to get you on, because who's going to be the dark horse Arsenal player? Because I've gotten a little bit of trouble over the last couple of seasons because I've got this little thing. I don't know why. But I'm convinced Fabio Vieira is going to bang at some point. And every year I end up with egg on my face. This is going to be the third year. I still think it could happen. But who's the dark horse? And bear in mind, every player is well known, and some of them may not be particularly dark horses. But who's going to be the surprise package? The player who comes from nowhere and becomes a first-team regular in a potentially title-winning challenge. JB, what do you think?
It's funny. I was thinking about Fabio Vieira, and I don't see it. I don't think he got the consistency in him, or I don't think we have the style of play that allows his player type to flourish with consistency. Where there's some games where we just have to lock up shop, and in the beginning of last season, we were defense first, kind of. And then they were like, where are the goals? Where are the goals? And then Arteta's like, trust the process. And all of a sudden we break the goal scoring record, right? So it's just like that mind state, I don't think is conducive to his style, because he needs consistency, free flowing, interchanging. And it's just like, no, lock in, you might have to defend first. So I don't think he would be the one, but I did give it a lot of thought. If ESR stays, I would say him. Where I think this is the year where he can realize that, like, I can put in that defensive shift, because I think those games that he's got in a couple of run, he was playing defensively, and then that allowed him to flourish going forward, where I don't think Fabio has that. So I'd say ESR.
ESR. Anyone else for ESR?
I mean, I would love him to stay, but I think it's time for him to go, to be honest. Yeah. Like, I feel like he's just not getting the run of games. I think he deserves, but obviously this is going back to my love from him for a long while. My head says he should be going, and he should be going to somewhere else.
Jason, ESR.
We'll see if we can get it. We can see if we can get it happen. Timber.
Timber.
Timber is like the one we know that's going to just be a problem, right? Like, I don't think anybody thinks that he's not going to be a problem this year coming up. It'll just depend, like, how we sort out in terms of transfers and where he starts to play, right? Like, because I think he's both sides. He can play both sides, and I think he is like one of those factors that'll help determine, like, where he plays once we figure out, like, who we're getting upon us.
I think Timber is a betting person. It's pretty much a dead cert, isn't it, that he's going to be good? Yeah.
I definitely think he's going to be good. But if I had to say somebody, also not a dark horse, but he had like he had a dark horse season, man. Like, my boy Martinelli's been getting so much stick lately.
Yeah.
I feel like he's just gonna
He's gonna
be
bang. He's gonna bang.
He was injured. Like
He offers us 90 mil for him. You doing it?
Huh?
PSG comes in and says we'll give you 85, 90 mil for him. You taking it?
I can't do it, sir.
No. You know what? I want to go back and get my hot take.
I need a hundo for him.
That would be my hot take. If they offered us above 80 to 85 for Martinelli, I would. I love him. I'm the same way with my head, right? My heart, but we need to be ruthless. And I found myself having this conversation with Arsenal supporter clubs across the country, and I just went direct. I was like, can we be ruthless? Can we be Real Madrid ruthless and say, Benzema, you had a Ballon d'Or year, but here's the door. Right? You, Modric, you want to stay? We're giving you less money. Can we be that ruthless? And I think that's what takes us to the other level, the past the emotional, like that's just those clubs operate at that level. And I think that would be one of the cases. Like if we wait on you being a dark horse, or if money's on the table. If we turn down twice, I believe 30 million bids for ESR, that would pay for Raya. And that's pure profit because he's a homegrown player.
Yeah. I think Martinelli is going to come back strong.
Yeah. I respect what you're saying, though. The ruthlessness.
I like where your head's at. I just wonder if it's like what will be our play or replacement.
We've done it though. Did we not do it with Aubameyang?
We did it with.
But that was.
I think it's just. I think you got to look at what the
foot. But what Arsenal fan was like, damn, Mikel is really just gonna oust our out and out goal scorer, or the player who's carried the team in some regard. But
I was with it though. I was with it.
I would. Here's the thing. I would challenge you on one thing. When you have a young manager, and I think we've seen this in multiple sports, you need a young players to also be able to listen to you because they're trying to earn an opportunity to prove that they can do it, and they'll run through walls. Mikel Arteta at the first phase of his development was asking senior pros to run through walls, people who would have been peers of his, and he wasn't going to get that, right? Especially, you're not going to tell me at 33, 31 to run around like a kid. You can't tell me to do that in the workplace. And let's not forget, Arsenal is a workplace. Yeah. I understood he having to phase out Aubameyang because he needed to bring in players who could listen and not necessarily challenge him. So that situation with Abba was totally different. With Martinelli, I get what you're saying regarding being ruthless and being able to sell somebody, but I don't think he necessarily is the asset right now. I don't think he has that profile right now. Real Madrid has look at them. They're stacked in that position, right? In the top, in the front three. I think Rodrigo might be the only person who could potentially lead that club, but even then, they may have one more year of the Samba boys connecting.
I think Rodrigo and Martinelli are like the same player, though, in this regard. Martinelli has a great Copa America, scores 5 goals. Even if they make the quarter or semis, Martinelli has games where he scores a brace. They win the game off of his efforts. Comes back to us, stock is sky high.
But who would buy him?
Rodrigo.
Who would buy him? I want to sell, but who would buy him? Who needs him? My issue right now, we're working in finer margins. The beautiful thing about Arsenal becoming this proficient in the market is that how many other teams can afford to buy our players at the price point that would make us get better? And there's not many teams who are going to necessarily do that, right? You're learning from the Real Madrid model. It's we're spending 50 million, but we're spending 50 million on Endrick, on Vinny, on Rodrigo to come good in 4 or 3 seasons. You saw what Benzema said about Vinny. He's working against us. This is 3 seasons ago, and now he's almost going to win the Ballon d'Or. So I don't think we have a player who has enough interest in Juve can't afford him. Inter can't afford him. Who else? Bayern don't need him.
That's why I said PSG.
PSG might go for Rashford, if anything, and that makes more sense. He has 1 year left in his contract. That's a branding thing.
I've got to jump in there because we have been saying on the podcast over the last week, something's changed. Something flicked. The switch flicked. I am now all in on Rashford for Arsenal.
I heard you a couple of days ago. I was driving.
And I think
I'm not mad at that.
I watched a compilation of Rashford's 30 goals in 22-23. Electric. Absolutely electric. Danger man. Lethal finisher. Would you love Marcus Rashford at Arsenal?
he's such a perennial purple patch player for me. Where when he's on, but then when he disappears, it's like what the ceiling is very high. I agree. And when he's lethal, he looks on the precipice of world class. But then when he falls off, it's like like world class players don't fall off like that.
It's Man United.
I
That's
was
not
about
the
to
Man
say,
United. It's not the team that we grew up being intimidated by or worried by, right? I would say this with you on that. There's two ways as an Arsenal fan we've learned to live, right? We can dream or be accountants. And then what and where's the delicate balance of how can we afford him and what does that do to our wage structure? Now,
Yes.
if you said to me we are shedding ESR, Reese, Eddie, and those three players technically can amount to Rashford, I'm all in. But unfortunately, we think like accountants. We have to get better at just being fans and just letting them, the executive board, take care of that part of it. But too many times I felt as though if you meet an Arsenal fan, you're meeting a certified, financial planner. We really are wholesome fans, right? We have a 360 understanding of football. And at some point, we have to be able to divorce that and allow the team to do what they're doing, recruit and trust, not necessarily trust the process, but trust the back end.
But
Because
that
look
comes
at how.
from Wenger. That comes from
Huh?
Papa Wenger.
It is. It
That
is.
comes
It's.
from Papa
It is. It is.
And
He
they,
was. He was.
that
He was.
second half, it's
He,
just like financial stability, and we're trying to be
he was.
frugal.
He was. He was counting the pennies. All right.
Yeah,
He
Yeah,
did some
so
dark
like,
horses.
I agree with you. It was embedded in the way we think.
think so. It's hard. All right. So
It is.
Jesus is my dark horse. I think
Jesus.
Jesus, he will rise again. There's something about Jesus. If again, with the wages we're paying some
As a
people,
9, or
Huh?
as a 9 or as a 10.
again, I'm not even going to go. I don't think positions matter with Arteta, right? It's just
Right.
effectiveness. The fact that Kai is doing what he's doing for Germany as well as he was doing for us, we don't have to worry about certain things. To me, if we have Jesus on the books, we have another 2 seasons. If we can stay healthy, if we could be rotated in with Kai, even if you said to me, Jesus, with your Rashford throw in there and Saka, he could be the starting position for Saka at the beginning of the season. I'm looking forward to seeing Gabriel Jesus being that player for us that we intended him to be.
Interesting. All right.
He's not
So,
a Brazil.
as you know, I want to get your take on this because I've been a little bit harsh over the summer. We all have on the AOP, a little bit harsh about some of the summer picks that have come out of some of the players. We had ESR and Reese at some pretty big parties. Whereas some of them were maintaining their reputation a little bit more by pumping iron in hotel gyms, training or whatever. But something happened today. Ben White spotted in Ibiza, and the Daily Mail got it, and then they zoomed in. He was having a glass of wine at lunch, but in his hand was 4 packets of Zyn nicotine pouches and cigars. What do we think? Completely fine? Is that are we gonna judge him? Are we gonna hold him to a different standard because it's Ben White? Or what? I
I'm
know it's
always
a
of the
non-story,
belief.
but we're having
No,
fun.
I'm always of the belief once you take care of business on field, I could leave you to do whatever you need to do off field, right? And I think Barcelona used to have a hands-off approach to the Ronaldinhos of the world. If Ben White is eccentric, allow him. Just allow him. He hasn't done much for us to even have to question his professionalism. He looks like Love Island, but he plays like Ben White. I don't have any issue.
Yeah, I'm with
My
you.
FPL loves him.
You know why I'm with you on that? Because behind Saliba, did he not clock the most minutes played?
He did. Maybe it was those Zins.
So he
Maybe it's
has
the Zins.
a summer off, which everyone on who wears red thinks he should be in the Euro squad. We know that's a whole nother kettle of fish of why he's not there and so on and so forth. He deserves to be there on his play. So I think mentally, if he can come back fresh, physically and mentally, like, look, I didn't get worn thin. I didn't have to stay in game mode for literally 2 years now, like Saliba has or Saka has. And he can come in and get us goal contributions like he was doing on the tail end of the season, whether that goal was intentional or not, that fluke cross goal. And he can come in and say, no, listen, I can carry some of the weight. I can play. I can still make those overlapping runs when you're tired. Bro, have another pack. a nicotine gum.
I say, well, I'm with y'all. I'm like, let that man live, man. He deserves it. He put the work in.
Mental fatigue is real.
He's in Ibiza, hanging out. This is his like his this is everything he's worked for, right? So give him this little bit of time. I will say though, I have a problem with the cigars. I'd rather he not inhale smoke. I'd rather him just, do whatever else.
Look at
But
you,
just to
Dad.
inhale the smoke, that's hitting the lungs more than like the nicotine patch and stuff like that. I'm looking out for my emotions come late
We're
May.
insane, aren't we, Arsenal fans? We track planes. We're regulating nicotine intake.
I think we had an issue in the group chat, right, regarding the ESR photos in Jamaica, him partying with Reese Nelson and I think it was Leon Bailey.
Yeah.
And I guess for my concern is this, right?
Wait, it was somebody with the ESR. It wasn't him.
He was there. It was
he was there.
his friend.
He was there, but he wasn't wearing. It wasn't the one we saw where somebody's wearing the ESR.
We assess this. We have absolutely no information on it, but this is our hypothesis.
Okay.
ESR's mate is an ESR. Thinking they're trying to get some girls. They want to make sure everyone knows who ESR is. His mate puts on the shirt. Everyone goes, "Who's Smith Rowe?" He goes, "That's my mate," and then they've got girls all night. That was our.
That's about it.
We've got too much time on our hands.
Yeah, man. Like I said, with the ESR situation, I'm okay with players doing what they need to do to decompress. My bigger concern is that were you available to us as much as we needed you? And that's my only question. And I only question players on that. Are you available? I think too many of our players, and we could go down a litany of them, right? Ox, Theo, Jack, Diaby, were you available when we needed you? And all I need the player to do is be available during the season. I don't care what you do when you're off.
You know what I think has changed about though? It's the mental part, where a lot of that is really unfair if their body lets them down, and that's kind of like semantics. So like, did you train? Did you prepare your body? Sometimes they prepare their bodies. And look at Timber. You know what I mean? First game of the season, his body let him down. I think. Were you available? So in the same vein, were you available mentally where we needed you? Were you able to come in ESR after a spotty couple of injuries, get your minutes, but not try to get a goal right away? Just put in that shift and say, I'm here to do the job. That's what I meant about Ben White. He said, listen, I had the summer off. You guys all didn't have the summer off. When we come in, I'll carry some of that burden. I'll make those runs. I'll be the outlet. I'll put in that extra tackle, or I'll get that yellow card early on in the game so you don't have to. And I think that's when that were you there when we needed you mentality comes in, where a lot of the time we were criticized for not having that tough mentality individually. And then as a collective, as Mikel always tried to drill in, like just be there for the guy next to you, right?
For me, it's optics. And I think you said this when we were talking about it, because it's like ESR has had a tricky season. Look at what the really top players we have. Look at what they post on Instagram. Gabby Jesus, the only thing he posts is him running on a soccer pitch every day, football pitch, footy pitch with Neymar, not soccer pitch. So we've got Gabby Jesus doing that. We've got Eddie doing the weights. We've got Saka. Saka's never out at a party with players. Like he's always looking like a goddamn racehorse. Look at him, he's beautiful, that man. But always in controlled environments, looking elite, doing elite things. Smith Rowe has had accusations, potentially unfairly, that he doesn't watch what he eats, that he doesn't mind his behavior off the pitch. Do whatever you want, but don't let it get posted, and don't put yourself in situations where other people are going to be posting it. And that shows like a little bit of a lack of mental sharpness, because you've got to know that you're a Premier League player playing for one of the biggest clubs in the world. Everything gets scrutinized. And the fact that, I don't know.
I agree with you on that.
Got to get a better team around him.
Here's the thing. You don't know what the team wants to do. If the team needs him to be able to move at a price point that's more beneficial to their negotiations, you don't know what, and optics are all these things, right? They might be playing their own games behind the scenes for him to not necessarily be there next season. And at this point, once we're able to sell him for at least $25 million, I'm okay. he's done what he needed to do for us so far, right? He's gotten us to a certain position. I have no issues with ESR, but we just need to be able to recoup some kind of funds for him, because I do not want ESR to become Ainsley Maitland-Niles, right? That's my biggest concern.
Ouch.
I'm saying, like, team wise, like, he's got to have people around him that are like bringing up his image, right? Like, I think if his team's working for him and not working for Arsenal, they still want him to get sold more, right? They still want other teams to be looking at him like, this dude is doing it right now. He's in the gym. He's working on his game. He got a bad run of play because Arsenal's like, Arsenal step up their amount of talent, and that's the only reason he's not on the field. It's not because of him. It's not because of his training. It's not because of everything else. Like, anytime anything distracts from that, when you're on like a contract year, you get ready possibly get pulled in and maybe get pulled into a better situation. You just want people to think that all you are doing is eating, sleeping, footy.
I think we're dinosaurs, right?
We might see Carlos Cuesta with ESR in the next couple of campaigns like this, hugging him up and giving him exactly that advice, right?
I think so.
Where that young connection from the coaching staff can tap in with the player and say, like, look, you are allowed to do that. You have been performing, but understand that these are the fine margins in how you get spoken about in the press and how you get spoken about when there's a potential sale for you. That's where I think that coaching, that man management could help. So I agree with you. It could be behind the scenes. The team could be sharpening that up, and these are the moments where it's like, that's why.
I agree.
We all know they deserve to be in the club. We know that. We know they put the work in. We know they have the training, but it's just the optics.
I agree. So we have been going 51 minutes, and we are going to pivot out of Ben White in Ibiza, ESR in Jamaica, and we're going to go all the way back to Brooklyn, and we are going to just talk a little bit about Arsenal in Brooklyn. Why Arsenal is so popular in Brooklyn, right? I don't see any other shirts.
For sure.
Is that just because we've been successful over the last couple of years? What is it about this relationship?
I do think it's one thing that has to be said about that, and I think it's like a strong West Indian culture that's in Brooklyn. And I think like a lot of West Indians that I know, at least, a lot of them are big Arsenal supporters. So I don't know if that leaks out into like the purview of everybody else. So like, when I think of Americans that are just catching up to footy, I'm seeing them in Man City and you see them in Chelsea, right? Those are the two. When we finally got, when we were able to watch over here, Spurs too. That's because I think they're trying to be more anti-Arsenal, like more, like everybody knew was an Arsenal fan, so I decided to be a Spurs. I feel like there's a lot of that because I've never heard people say, why exactly? Like, how'd you become a Spurs fan? Like, what was the moment? Who were the people? Our old school guy, Adebayor, was that the guy? I don't know. But in terms of Brooklyn, I feel like it's like there's that West Indian culture that has like a lot of people that have been watching footy forever and stuff like that. And I feel like that's where you might see a lot of it. And then it's just, in terms of just like so many people that come over, originally start in the city and then move to Brooklyn. I feel like they have like a lot more, I guess, knowledge about the game. And if you have a bit of knowledge about the game, love them or hate them, like Arsenal has been a team to always watch because you're going to see the beautiful game. And I think like that kind of helps it out a little bit. But
remember the Sex and the City episode when Miranda moved to Brooklyn, right? All right, if you guys ever watch Sex and the City. Okay. The point of me mentioning is that you're right.
Jason's giving it all away.
I'm just saying the fact that you mentioned
that's the hot
take. There is a big migration of people from the city who are moving to Brooklyn, right? Yeah. So now you're getting Brooklyn to become so much more multicultural. And it's almost like it's a snapshot of what London was when I grew up over there. You're finding people from all across. So our Brooklyn Invincible group, right? Name a country, we have somebody from there. And the fact that we can see someone with an Arsenal jersey or a kid on, like I think my license plate at one time said Gooner. The amount of times I got stopped over And the amount of times I did get stopped over, took a photo, had a conversation about how well we were doing, and honestly redirected traffic to go back to Fancy Free. Brooklyn has become this beautiful cornucopia of just cultures, man. I don't even want to name the nationalities. Think about it. We're all in the same space, and we're all cheering on a team that has given us really great moments the last 2 seasons, right? On top of just having a historical value of being beautifully, we have always played the game beautifully, especially in England, despite having those, Ryan Shawcross moments. We've always been able to play a certain level of football, regardless of if we're winning or not. And those things kind of hold true. And being able to carry that, the multiculturalism of Arsenal, even in the UK, that kind of bodes well over here too. So yeah, man, it's been beautiful because I think Arsenal represents a lot of what we see. No other team kind of does that the same way.
Yeah.
And tell us a little bit about how Brooklyn Invincibles came about in terms of, was it structured or unstructured? Or
just to what you said, right? I was in the city at O'Hanlon's, and O'Hanlon's is my bar. But I came, I'm like, I need somewhere I can go and not have to schlep all the way to 14th Street. And me, Howard, and Mozito, and Howard, you can go and speak on it from there. We just came together.
Yeah. So there's like a pocket of people that we always would see at the bars and stuff like that. And shout outs to O'Hanlon's because they were like original Blind Pig, and they've held the culture for a long time and things. But there was also a lot of Brooklyn nights that never really had a home. And are we always going to hop on the train and go into the city to watch this? So we would scramble around, and like it'd be like 15 of us that would call each other and try to figure out, hey, where you want to meet? Are you going to go to the bar? Da, 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 da. And then it just became like, we started to go ask around, like, hey, where can we find a place? We need to find our own home, basically. And one of the places that we started having a strong conversation with was Fancy Free. And, much love to Jason, a dude that was way more about like the American sports than this. And like constantly going there, watching basketball or something else. And then finally like, hey, I promise you, if you play Arsenal matches, the people will show up. You know what I mean? We just know too many of them. So
to be fair, he would be in the chat like, "Are you guys gonna show up?" And I'll be like, "I'm rolling out and I'm gonna go. And if you serve food, we'll buy."
Yeah. And the first few times, so shout out to him because like the first times we went there, first match we went there, I remember this, JP, it was Brentford, and we lost to him. There might have been like, I don't know, 10 of us.
10.
You know what I mean? It was an early
kids,
match too.
including children.
And I was like, I promise you it's gonna get better than that. So you know what I mean? Like over the seasons, over the years, over these little milestones we've had throughout the season, it just kept growing and growing. And
one of the things I love is that you go in the city, and I think the clue's in the name. Like you go to O'Hanlon's, it's just such a great place for a certain experience, but it's almost like, it's like an Irish pub, or it's like a pub.
I was just gonna
Whereas
say
what I like about Fancy Free is it's got the Brooklyn vibe. So it's not just trying to copy. Not that O'Hanlon's is trying to copy it, but it's not just trying to take an English or Irish pub experience and put Arsenal in it. It's got its own Brooklyn vibe, and so it's not. It's something. It's very authentic to what it is, rather than trying to replicate, say, an English pub.
Location matters too, right?
I think things flourish. Sorry to cut you off.
No, location matters, right? We're in the heart of Fort Greene, right? More importantly, I used to listen to this pod and I used to read when Pedro had his rantings about Arsene out, right? So I DM Matt. I'm like, yo, you're in Brooklyn? Yo, bro, pull up. We're around the corner from you. By all means, show your face.
For doing that. Shouts to you for always showing up too, because that's how I met you for one of the friendlies in the summer. I was there because I live 2 blocks over. Mm-hmm. And you just pulled up for the first half, kind of like, okay, who's here trying to watch the game? Get in the WhatsApp. And it's just like finding people. It's like, reinforcing that sense of community, where it's not like you were mentioning going to a pub and like assimilating to pub culture. It's like, hey, this is a space where you can come watch the game and kind of be who you want to be, wear your jersey the way you want to wear it, and then have great conversations like this. So,
and the lemon pepper wings are so good.
Yeah.
Jason got me into those.
One
That's
more
not a
ad
lie.
though. I think the beautiful thing about what's happening in America, there's not much post-match talk, right? They shut football down after maybe 10 or 15 minutes post-game. So when you have like the AOP, you have an outlet. When you leave the bar and run and, give us the hot takes, and you're giving us those moments to like, okay, where else can we absorb content for this? Thanks to you, because literally there's not much in the American space. We get football relatively accessible, right? Pretty cheap too. But they really do limit the games to just the games. There's not much discussion afterwards. So the AOP serves a really great purpose of just giving us an outlet afterwards to kind of tune in and to kind of like vent sometimes. And more importantly, now we're excited. We're really excited as a fan base to just keep it going.
So how many? Because even a year ago, I felt it was beginning to get busy, but someone I know took a picture and didn't even know what it is, and just took a picture and said, "Look how busy this pub is," and look how busy this bar is, and put it on their Instagram. I reckon for that Man United game, the last game, I wasn't there for the very last game, so that might have been even busier. But that Man United game, it was like 70 outside. There were people with chairs looking in through the window. How many people were there that day? Do you think?
Yeah, we're gonna have to start getting red members to get inside the bar.
The ballot. We'll do the ballot.
Right?
Except it'll be fair.
Yeah, exactly. No, but it's funny. Yeah, you do most of the WhatsApp stuff, Jay. Where are we at on like how many members are just?
So I would say to you around 250 members in the WhatsApp, and that's just people who are actively engaged. Barring that, people bringing their friends. Like I said, I brought my kids in there. I've seen people with their families in there. Friends are visiting from out of town. I think we have a way of just pulling people in. And if you see an Arsenal jersey, you see me driving downtown Brooklyn, I'll honk you down and I'll tell you, yo, pull up the fancy free, because by all means, the community has been so rich to tap into. And we've been able to connect outside of just watching the games at Fancy Free. We held a charity game against some Man City fans, and we Howard was Raya in reincarnated. So the point is that
you can say it. We watched them. You can say it.
I'm being kind, but the point is that we've been able to grow a community because we have really good quality folks, and I think that's we're tapping into what old Brooklyn was too. It's literally just tapping into Brooklyn. Brooklyn has always been a place in which you come in, and we could always connect no matter what you're doing. So
there's been some. So obviously there's one very famous face been coming in.
Oh, this
Spike Lee. Yes. Shout out to Spike.
That makes a difference,
it was
right?
Poetic the day that he came to the first time.
Right. It was. Yeah, it was amazing,
man.
Yeah. Because I feel like the first time was just a coincidence, a weird thing. I know Jason, the owner, has like a relationship with him or something, but like the fact that we're right next door to his studio, right? We're like we're living around history of Brooklyn anyway, which is amazing, right? We're growing up, you hear like songs about these streets that we roam like normally. You hear rap music, you hear, you know what I mean? Like there's so much like history within the place and surrounding this place. And then just to have him, an icon, come to the bar for the first time was just enough. I loved it. It made sense. And I was so happy about that. But now for him to be honest, I feel like he comes in almost as like another Brooklyn Invincible. You know what I mean? He comes in as somebody who just slides to the back and just watches the game, takes a photo with us afterward, and just moves on with his life. That last game, we unfortunately came in second. Immediately, I had my I had an Arsenal kit on, had to take that off and throw on a Knicks kit because I was going to Game 7. You know who else was in the bar with us watching the Arsenal match? Spike Lee. So if you tell me another person like the 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 face of the Knicks was like, oh wait, let me hold up and pull up and watch some footy before I go to watch Game 7. Oh my God, that's amazing to me. And so that's like that just speaks to the community. I think that's been like building up, right? And you know,
That's incredible. That's incredible.
Something if I could add to going back to like when we were, because I used to go to the Blind Pig too, O'Halloran's, Jack's. The thing about bars in Manhattan, in the city, as we say, once you step out of the bar, it's either where are we going to go continue drinking because we won or we lost, or there's just the movement of New York City that just kind of, it's like, what are we doing? At Fancy, it's like you have the park a block next door. People just want to enjoy the space. It's a little bit of a green space. It's kind of like the triangle there. People just like being there. There's places to eat. And then, as you said, Jason, continue the conversation. So it just facilitates that. And we have had all types of people show up, people who work in entertainment, people who do this, people who do that. And I definitely noticed it as we grew. They're like, okay, we're some new faces here, people who's got this swag to them. But then when the core group, those like us rabid fans who have been talking on the WhatsApp from the night before the morning, everyone just kind of like levels out, and it's the fandom that takes over, and it allows it to just flourish naturally. Just like, hey, you might have a cool retro kit, you might do this, you might do that, but it's just like you see the fandom in our eyes when we talk to each other. And then I think that becomes infectious. And then you get to step outside and stay in that fandom, as opposed to like, all right, well, I just watched the game. Now I got to go do what I was doing. It's just like, no, we're here. We're chilling. This is the norm. And then, as you said, the venue is conducive to it. They like to keep us around and watch and talk, and they're happy to have us there.
I love that. And all that talk about handling, I just want to give a massive shout out to Curtis Powers, because no one has done more than
KP.
that guy for Arsenal NYC, for the work that he does tirelessly. It's absolutely incredible, and we miss you. Haven't seen you down, but we will be waiting your arrival. You are the GOAT. So that's Curtis. So just before we go, just give us like a little teaser for what are some upcoming plans for the summer, for the beginning of the season, that people should start getting excited about.
As far as Brooklyn Invincibles go, we're going to be doing we're working on, an event in Philly right now. We're trying to work to see if we can get an event together in Philly. We're Jason was just telling you about the charity game. We still have our team, so we'll be starting to do more like, establish it more as a solid team. Play some more charity matches. Play against some other clubs. So anybody from other clubs, if you want that smoke, come get it. We'll be doing a lot more like merch drops and stuff like that. I know you're familiar. We have like a lot of designers, a lot of creators, a lot of like just interesting folks within our purview of our fan base and stuff. So we'll be doing a lot more work there. JB's going to be on the road spreading the love. I don't know if you want to talk about that. So
no, that's exactly it. So by the virtue of my job, I travel a lot, and on the weekends a lot. I'm on the road, and I've had the privilege to start collecting a bunch of stickers from different supporters clubs. I'm still in the
love that.
So I'm always I get the privilege to go find these and just spread love and just send that message and just really embody that Brooklyn spirit of spreading love. Because as a New Yorker, whenever you're out of town, it's like, oh man, I've never been. And if they're an Arsenal fan, I'm like, you can come to Brooklyn. It's right downtown. It's in Fort Greene. We're there in Invincibles, and we legit just want to spread that love and let people feel welcome. Because I will say, and I'll take this chance to say it, all these other supporters clubs have been super welcoming. They find out that there's another supporters club elsewhere. They're like, great, whenever we go on vacation. And it's been really, really beautiful to see and meet people from legitimately all over the country, West Coast, East Coast, South, up to Chicago, all over.
I love that. So just before we go, what's the Instagram handle? Tell us the Instagram handle where people can find you. Make sure if you're listening, even if you're living in N7, N5, N1, Give the BK Invincible. Is it what's the actual handle? I want to get it right.
Brooklyn_Invincibles.
All right. Find the handle. Give it a follow. Stay tuned. If you're in New York, if you're in America, if you're outside America, if you're in London, come over and check out a game. There's so much planned. It's an incredible community.
Yes.
It's my home from home for the season. I can't wait for the season to start all over. It's really filled the void of not being able to go and be there live in every game. But thank you so much, guys, for coming on and joining. And yeah, we got the fixtures. We know what we've got to do. 38 games. I'm feeling optimistic, and I will see many of you hopefully out at Fantasy Free. Thank you all.
Appreciate it.